So welcome everyone. We're going to get started. Adam has a nice PowerPoint for us. So we're going to work together. Called Successful Committees, Chapter 2. And we'll move to slide number 2. I liked the building. We were talking about that before, how we kind of enjoyed the modern, like it was like a building of everything. And we're trying to build our AMBUCs this year. We're talking about committees. So, whoops. Let's go back to the second slide again. A committee, the definition. So I looked it up 2 or 3 different ways. I even used ChatGPT, and I took some information from that as well. I've been hanging out with Melissa Lay. A committee is a group of people designated to perform a specific task or function, often within an organization, government, or another institution. They are typically formed to focus on a particular issue, make decisions about that issue, and carry out specific activities. The members of this committee often have complementary expertise or roles, and they work together to achieve the committee's objectives. So that was, I felt like a pretty overview of what a committee should be doing. And we'll go to slide number 2. Goals for committee. So this year, one of the focuses for the board and for me is to focus on committees, because a good committee can help create our next leaders. We always want to be looking for our replacement. So when you start with a committee, say you're at the local chapter and you're kind of a new member and you get on a committee, because theoretically we're all supposed to be volunteering for a committee, or sometimes our chapters sign us up for a committee. Whatever works best for you and your chapter is what you want to do. But you're on that committee and you're beginning to talk to people and having input and so on and so forth. And then perhaps maybe in a year or so, you'll be the committee chair. That's great. We're developing a leader. After being a committee chair, wow, you might have the confidence to be an officer. And then you could do officer at the district, at the region, and then even national. We must continue to build our leaders. So we start at the very bottom. We start teaching at the committee level, and it gives us an opportunity or a highway in order to find our replacement. We'll go to the next slide. I was reading, and you can be a committee of 1. We have lots and lots of small chapters. It's not advisable, but hey, if you only have 5 people in your chapter, you're going to be a committee of, well, you'll be the committee chair of 1. You might do all the research. You may do all the legwork, because you're bringing to your board, or if there's 5 of you, you are the board, you are officers, you are everything. You're going to be kind of in charge, we'll say, of Amtrak's. Another one might be in charge of socials. Another one in charge of community service. Everyone takes one lead. It's still developing the skills, and you still use the processes that we described above about a committee. So just remember, even if you're small, you can be a committee of 1, and then you go out and find volunteers to help you. Okay, next slide. So Enid AM2 has volunteered to help us with this. I visited them a couple weeks ago and realized that they were using a basic 4 committee structure. Underneath those 4 committees are other subcommittees. So I will let one of them take over, and the next 4 slides talk about their committees. Ladies?
You want to go ahead, Rhonda?
I can go first, or you can. Either way, whichever you want to do.
You go ahead. You are the president.
So what we do is we have 4 committees. We have the service committee, which is the slide that we have up now. And under our service committee, right now if we have somebody that is not completely confident doing the chairperson by themselves, then we will do a co-chair, or maybe they don't think they have enough time, but we feel like they would be a great asset, so we'll let them co-chair. And so on our service committee, we do the under service committee is our scholarship program, our Amtrak's, and our Cornerstone. We have they decide on our fundraisers that we do, our major fundraising project and all of our service projects that we do each quarter. They make the recommendations. So when we get a request for funds in our community, when they are the ones that goes through those requests and makes the recommendations of where they feel like we need to give that money to our community and how much they recommend that we do. And then we typically do one actual physical service project where we go out or where we collect items for different entities in our community. Then we have our information committee, and the information committee is in charge of our program for each week. And then they help to educate the community about our chapter through billboards, radio, newspaper, just any way to get our name out there. They do our newsletter. They foster inter-club and national regional district participation in things, provide information to the National Quarterly Magazine. They're responsible for submitting annual award nominations. And that is like one of our biggest committees. They're busy all the time. Then we have our fun committee. And the fun committee is responsible for making sure that the room is set up each week for our meetings. They do our 50-50. They do the attendance records, sergeant at arms. They plan our quarterly socials, and then just in general promote camaraderie among our members. And then our friendship committee is over basically our membership recruitment and retainment. They are responsible for our 2 membership drives. And then they check on members who haven't been at meetings, send out birthday cards, things like that. And then they conduct our quarterly orientation and then help any new members understand what it is we do and how we do it, and kind of help them get familiar with our with AMBUCS and what it is we do. Take it away, Leslie.
Okay. Excuse me. When she talked about the service committee, they bring their recommendations of how they want to spend the money or what they want to do as a project to the board. And we have once a month board meetings, and then the board usually approves everything that they bring to us. Something about our information committee chairperson, we have a new gal, Jessica Souls, who just started as a member this year. Our chairperson for the information committee had to step down due to personal reasons, and this brand new person stepped in, and she is being mentored and guided, and we just feel so good about it, what she's taken on already. One thing that our policies and procedures say is that each executive person, executive board person mentors one of the committees. And so they go to those committee meetings. However, the president decides which board member is going to be on which committee, except for our service committee, and we have our treasurer assigned to that, because that person knows all of the current information regarding what kind of money we have. I believe that it's really important to mentor everybody. I've got a committee of about 9 newish members on my friendship committee. And what I like to do is talk about what we are going to do, what our projects are going to be, and then say, would anybody be interested in doing this? And I cannot tell you how these ladies have jumped in. We are going to do a mock board meeting for our orientation next Wednesday. Every one of these women volunteered to be a board member or a committee chair. And it was really exciting. And, you know, I promised them I'd write their, what they have to say and everything, but I just feel so good about it. I believe in asking. When I was president a couple of years ago, my motto was just ask. And it is amazing when you just ask, not exactly what they're going to do, but would they be interested in doing something, how people respond. We start looking for the following year's committee chair people and board members pretty much once everybody's sworn in, because we have to look for who we think might be best. We have to encourage them. We have to guide them. If they're somewhat interested, we have to take them under our wing and give them more information. And I think that's a big part of it. So that's really what we do. We try to mentor, we try to guide, assist, ask, and I think we've got some pretty good committees.
Okay, I don't know if Gina is on or not. I can't see everybody right now, so. Yes, and the very last of the Enid AM2 committee paperwork, it says they ask every committee to serve on the committee of their choice. And then also to support the major fundraisers. And then they write shoulders together and say, thank you for serving our chapter. I thought that was a very, very nice way of putting it. Both of you have hit on some really valid points. I heard over and over again, I heard the word mentoring. You are taking the new members under your wing and you are teaching them. And yes, email is great and Zoom is wonderful and all of those things, but you guys, you're going and you're meeting and you're physically asking that person, and then you are assisting them as they go along. That means so much, I believe, to all these new members. And I think you're going to have great retention because of that. And you, I mean, just like you said, everybody wants to do something. You've got volunteers going everywhere. Yes, Rhonda.
And I would just like to add, you know, that committee meeting is where they really kind of bond and get to know each other and
Yes.
kind of create that relationship too, because, you know, a lot of times they'll have a little bit of time to visit and kind of get to know each other and work together on a project.
And it might be a little more laid back, especially like if you're a quiet or a shyer person, you're not in the big room where you guys meet, where everybody's, you know, really busy talking and there's a lot going on. I think you're right there. You have a little more private time to get to know each other and feel comfortable.
I think this mock board meeting that we're going to do is going to be good for a lot of people. We have a whole bunch of new people that are, I would say, what, 40 to 60, would you say, Rhonda? Most of them 40 to 60 years old or high 50s. And
Yeah.
And I think it'd be good for people that are thinking about taking on one of these positions to see what really happens at a board meeting.
And you say you're doing that as part of your orientation?
It will be our orientation next Wednesday.
Very
And
interesting.
our board meetings are open to anybody, but they're at
Okay.
6:45 a.m. So adding another 6:45 a.m. meeting is a little intimidating sometimes. So just to get up and go for, you know, just to see what's going on, sometimes it's a little easy to be like, yeah, that's okay. So this way they'll actually get to see what we do so that they'll be able to kind of know how things.
I think that's great. Perhaps you could record it. That would be wonderful. It might be a good teaching tool. Might want to talk to Adam about that. Okay, so that is a version of a chapter that uses 4 committees, which is basically the smallest. It was advertised as an option way back in the early, I don't know, 2010 or so. And they have taken that and really made it work for them. And also on our call, we have Mountain Metro, and I know Tasha was on.
I am.
And yeah, and so they have a large group. They have loads of different committees. They have made committees that worked with whatever they were going to do. So I'm going to let Tasha, and I stole this from your newsletter, Tasha.
It's all good.
Yeah, and because I wanted everybody to see all of the things that you guys use for committees and how you use it. It when you go to their chapter, it's a bubbling chapter. Those committees are moving and talking and carrying on. So I'll let Tasha talk about it and how it works for them.
Sure. Yes. We, as you said, are a very large chapter. So we do utilize the committees quite often. We do an orientation, which is in itself its own committee with our committee chairs. And within orientation, as you guys know, meetings happen really fast, and there's a lot of information that happens at the meetings, and it can be very overwhelming. We try to encourage all of our members to be on at least one committee. So during our orientation that we do, and we try to do them at least once every other month if we can, we incorporate this as part of our learning period within our orientation as committees. And we go over the different committees within each one to kind of help describe. So somebody doesn't get into something that they're like, oh, I did not know that that's what this committee is. I think this is above my head. Kind of redirect them, re-guide them to which committee is best for them and to help with. We also utilize our committees, and they have their own subcommittees. One of our biggest committees that we have is Car Show. And that is our biggest fundraiser. And that committee itself is so massive, and it is so huge that that committee has also been broken down into smaller, more manageable committees. So that chairperson for our Car Show committee delegates to others to help that very, very massive committee delegate more efficiently, since it is such a huge project. Trying to think what else, how else that we utilize our committees. Janet, did I miss anything about our committees that we do utilize? Because we have a ton of them. Is she still on there?
I think so. She might be muted. She's probably unmuted.
Yeah,
so.
I just unmuted it. I said
There
our
you go.
social media, Annette does a fantastic job with getting our name out there. She's got us on Facebook. We put all of our stuff on Facebook, our socials and everything. So I think she does a great job with that. And we do our socials that kind of gets everybody involved. I think Donna, you joined in on our bowling social that we had. That was very successful, but we're getting our members involved that way, and everybody's having a really good time. So I think that's important to get those socials out there and make people.
With Donna and what AM2 clinic chapter was saying too, which we do utilize quite a bit. We have a saying, I have a saying that says many hands make light work. And the more involved that you can get those new members, the more longevity you're going to have out of those members. They're going to be invested. They've got skin in the game. They feel like they are being heard whenever they are on those smaller groups and in those committees. As soon as we have our committee sheets, we have our chair committees start I don't want to use the word recruiting, but trying to figure out what their niche is. What are they most interested in? Are they technology savvy? Are they more creative? How they would best suit, and then say, oh, okay, well, this committee is going to be better suited for you, or you might check into this, or go talk to this person. They are the chair of this committee, and they can really help guide you as to what we do there. And that really, really helps with that retention as well. Because like you said, if they are invested and involved right off the bat, then those members are going to stay and be valid members within your chapter. The more you can break down into those committees, the more successful that you will be within the committee.
Excellent. Yes. I know some of the bigger chapters have many committees similar to what you have, but everybody calls them their own names. I mean, sometimes you ladies crack me up. We have the church ladies and, the gem club and things like that that are really specific just to your chapter. But
Yes.
that makes it really fun. Do you find it hard to figure out a match for your new members? Do they accept it pretty well when you talk to them about it?
Most members, we find that most of the time they're so overwhelmed with the amount of things that we are doing, that when we can break it down into smaller groups like orientation or that connection, where you say, hey, let's go out to lunch and let's talk about this, that's a lot easier. Most of our chairs are people who have been on the committee for at least 1 year, who knows how the committee runs, especially some of our bigger ones that we have, like socials. They are responsible for a lot of different things, including banquet, and we like the district socials that falls under our social. So we want somebody who is seasoned, who has been there, seen things, and those are big committees as well for us, and we have a lot of member participation. Excuse me, participation. So that really that helps, because you need that old knowledge coming in as far as and new growth. You need the new members for new ideas, but also to know, well, we did this, how can we modify it? And they kind of can see where we came from, what we've done in the past, and then have those new members come in with fresh ideas. What do you think? And I think it's all about how you approach your new members, about, I think you would be really good at this, and not just saying, yeah, you need to be on a committee. And I think that Mountain Metro in whole does extremely, extremely well with making our new members feel very, very welcome and inviting, and our members want to help. They want to be on a committee, and they want to be involved. And I give all the applaud to our girls there, because they make it amazing. They make it fun, and they make those new members want to be involved.
Those are very, very valid points. And I can tell you, after attending the social of bowling, there were several new members there, and then there were some prospective members there who were, by the time it was done, I'm sure signing the dotted line is how I call it. There was so much laughter. They kept saying, this is so much fun. I feel so included. And again, and then they get on a committee, and then you mentioned that you listen to their ideas. In the beginning, we talked a little bit about, how we get the new people on. Don't forget to look for your next leader. That leader may have a different approach to something than has been done in the past. And we need to listen and to be open to that, and give it a try. So all of those are very, very valid points. I can only see 4 people. So if you do happen to have a question or a concern or something, you'll have to use chat, because I can't see anyone, except 4 who might wave at me, and then others might, but I can't see them.
Donna, you can slide those pictures across the bottom, right or left, and you can see the rest of the people.
Oh, I hit this button. Yes, okay, a lot of people, yeah, okay. They have just, yeah, they just don't have their video turned on. That's what part of it is. I
Oh.
happen to see Leslie. Okay, that sounds great. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, everyone else, it's your turn. What does your chapter do? Are your committees running smoothly? Do you hear complaints about members not wanting to do something? Have you listened to different members? Have you tried their ideas? Is it time to switch up, for you to switch committees or to switch up your committee chairs? What works for your chapter? Have you personally contacted a committee member and asked them to do a specific job? What are your questions and concerns? And that's just a smattering of things that came into my head like this afternoon as I was working on this, like when I was giving thought to, okay, what are some of the things that I've heard as I've been traveling around? And basically I've heard all these things. So if you wish to speak, you will have to unmute yourself, and we'll take the video down or the PowerPoint down for a little bit. We'll finish it up in a few minutes, and that way we can see each other. Okay. All right. Who would like to go first and talk about concerns, something they love, something they could add to what we've already talked about?
I'll go first.
Okay,
Is-
Leslie.
You know, sometimes you get so much enthusiasm that you wonder and worry if you need to harness it. Having the new members on my friendship committee has been a joy. Once they found out what we were really about, it honestly is hard to hold them down. They have already, and they're the friendship committee, and this is not, you know, usually this comes through service. They've already had 3 fundraisers. Let me think. 2 fundraisers. We got another one that'll be approved next week, and 2 other ones in the work. This is the friendship committee doing this now. One of them decided that it'd be fun to invite everybody to go on a bus trip to Sapulpa, Oklahoma. So she's getting that going. And that crazy ladies bingo that we had while you were visiting.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was the friendship committee. They're not the fun committee. They're the friendship committee, and it was their choice. They wanted to do it. It was our program. So I just think the enthusiasm, you know, you can't stop it.
Yeah, well, and we shouldn't stop it. Now, once in a while, we realize they might be overextending themselves, and then perhaps we can kind of, you know, get maybe other members to really help out. But if they're willing to do it and they're putting things out there and you are allowing it, that keeps that locomotion going. Those
Mhm.
people are excited about what they're doing. They want to share their ideas. Sometimes we're in chapters where that kind of enthusiasm and the new ideas, there are roadblocks there. We have to be careful of that because we know how much enthusiasm these new people have. Use it. We are looking for our replacements. We've, you know, as we've gone through, I remember I'm still that enthusiastic, but you know, I do get tired once in a while, but I get all excited about something and I just go a little bonkers. But you know, so that's great. And you are allowing them to do that. You are also having them be responsible for it. They're not coming in and saying, hey, we want to do this crazy bingo and you know, we'll let you take charge of it. No, they are taking charge of it. So if you already have jobs, you are not being overwhelmed by that. And I will tell you, Crazy Lady Bingo is absolutely insane. It is so funny. You laugh so hard, especially at 6:45 in the morning. There just was not enough coffee to keep that straight. It was lots of fun. So they might need to be sharing that with a region here and there, because it was fun. Any other comments?
Hey, Donna, can I say something?
Yes.
One of the things I see a lot in chapters that don't utilize committees is people they joined your chapter for a reason, and it was to do something, whether it was to build Amtrak's, do community service, or have fun. And the best and easiest way to get them involved is to get them on a committee. If we don't utilize them, they're going to find another organization that will utilize their volunteer. So I think committees are the easiest way to get the new members involved, find out what they're interested in, why they joined, what is their why, and try to get them involved that way.
Excellent point. Yes, yes. They join for a reason. If we do not put them to work or allow them to use their ideas and at least talk about their ideas, they won't stay. And, mentoring and retention as well as bringing members in is a very, very important part of what we do in AMBUC. And I know we've got a committee working on membership, and I know Jenny has a great little program for her region. So I know they are bringing in a lot of people, and Jenny's been kind of busy lately giving out special belt buckles. So, all right. Who else would like to add something? Do you have any questions?
I'll speak up. I belong to a chapter that's 95 years old. And one of the problems that occurs is that things are sort of taken for granted. And there's a breakdown of what used to be, when we were much larger, a very formal committee structure. And at this I was curious in this presentation to try to see what is possible for the Grand Rapids chapter to sort of reinstitute a committee structure that's more effective. What happens is people have been members for a long time and they just volunteer to do something. And we're not as good as we should be in terms of broadening responsibilities out, because as we age, we end up not having the resources, the experience being properly transmitted down to newer members and things of that nature. And it hurts, I think, the overall effectiveness of the chapter. So for chapters that are much older, and a lot of times they have a harder time recruiting because their members are older, younger people, there becomes a challenge, I think, in that whole process, where committees certainly need to be reinvigorated. When I was first joined AMBUC 34 years ago, I was immediately put on a committee, but I was in a chapter with 85 members. And so it was totally different than it is today when I'm in a chapter, really actively speaking, maybe a dozen members with another dozen to 20 members that are relatively inactive or older, but they're still members. And so this is an important thing to be considering for particularly older chapters that have older people who've been there and done that, and are not as eagerly engaged in new member recruitment.
So have you guys brought any new members in this year, or have you grown,
Yes.
Okay, so you have some, we'll call it new blood for lack of another term. And I'm not sure, are your members, first off, do you have committees assigned at all?
Well, right now I would say it's very informal.
Mhm.
And there's a need, I think, to reinstitute some more formality in how we govern our affairs, if for no other reason than to sustain the chapter.
Right. I mean, you could start right now and just say, hey, we want to reinstitute our committees, and you get together and decide what you want, and then
Well,
grab those new members and let them do some of that hard lifting work. Because as you say, the older members maybe physically can't do as much, but they
Right.
could share their wisdom and their knowledge and say, not to the point of, okay, well, we've done it this way for 100 years and we're just going to do it this way. We have to figure out a way to kind of do that compromise and use the wisdom and experience that your chapter has lots and lots of, because they do. They have some very solid members, and then grab that enthusiasm and energy that the younger member or the new member has.
Right.
Uh,
Well, part of it is I've resigned from the board because of my mid-state responsibility.
Yeah.
And I'm just a general member at this point, and I feel that I want to remove any conflict of interest. And so I do attend the board meetings, but I'm no longer a board voting member and or officer because I want the chapter to operate independently of the region.
Right. Mhm.
Donna?
And
So I can suggest things, but that's as far as I can take it at this point.
well, even if you were on the board, probably suggesting, I mean, they still have to go through and approve it.
Oh,
So-
absolutely.
Donna?
I think
Rhonda
Rhonda's trying to speak
wants
up.
to speak. Yeah, Rhonda wants to speak to that, Judd. Let's
I just
listen.
I was just going to say, we have really been working on some of that within our chapter in a lot of things and updating different things, moving our treasurer responsibilities into an online program and things like that. But one of the things we've been really working on is to create documentation and have things lined out on paper so that we can pass that to the next
Mhm.
person as it goes. So it makes the transition a little bit easier, and maintaining more like documentation of what we do each year so that we know, okay, well, this time of the year we've been doing this. How do we, do we want to carry that on? Do we want to add anything to it? Do we want to take it away? So just kind of even then a notebook, even anything, but just trying to kind of create that consistency that you can pass off from year to year. And if you're going to be starting, you haven't been doing official committees and you're going to be starting that would be a great thing to keep in mind, is to make it easy to pass along so that it's not as intimidating for somebody else to take over.
We have committees in name only, perhaps is the best way to put it. So you end up with one or two people saying that over time, that's my area. And so, but we need to be better at making sure everybody fits in somewhere and not just leave it to the same old people doing the same old things.
I think that's important. I think, yes, leaving the same things to the same, and they just go in and do it, and they don't ask for people to come and assist them. So therefore, no one is learning the jobs. And so then you don't get the growth. I call it outward growth, where you build that
Right.
infrastructure. And I think Leslie has some comment she wants to make about
Yes.
some.
I
There you are.
do, because I believe that if you have policies and procedures, you need to follow them. And if you're not following them, maybe it's time to get the board together to revise the policies and procedures. And that maybe will bring to light some of the things that, we have problems with. It does the board good. It's tedious, but it does the board good to look at those policies and procedures, seeing if you're following them and how do you want to revise them. Maybe, maybe the chapter doesn't want to do things that way anymore.
Valid point, valid point. I know my home club, Danville, they review their policies every other year. So they stay pretty current on those. Sherry, did you have something you wanted to say?
No,
I-
I'm sorry. I'm late. I was teaching till now, so I was hoping to just jump on and take it in as best I could.
Oh, that's fine. I just saw a hand and I talk with my hands, so I'm always waving mine around too. But well, nice to have you join us. I'm glad you chimed in, and it is taped, so you can see the beginning
Okay.
of it as well.
Good. Thank you. I was hoping.
You're welcome. Other comments? Anybody, any more help for Judd? Anybody have anything else? Yes, Tasha.
I mean, I don't know if it's helpful or not, but My mom always told me that sometimes you got to start back on rock solid foundation. So if you do have to start all over with your committees, I would suggest to start in something simple, break it down into something that is easy to manage and most important to your chapter. I know we have a lot of committees, but it didn't start off that way. They grew over facilitation, over need for the growth of our facility of our chapter. So it might be just as infrastructure to take it down to something that is very simple, down to the basics, to the bones of your operation, and grow from there. And get some of those older guys to write down what they have done, or even to tell some of the younger people, but to restructure and to look at what is important to your chapter and where your growth is, and kind of start on a solid foundation again.
Those are excellent point. Yes, your mother was a wise lady, obviously. And another, COVID really knocked us. If we were using committees and all was going well, and then COVID came along, and we had to do things kind of as individuals. And I think it caused a breakdown, and people forgot about committees and how to do it. And they just kind of went off and, oh, I do that. I do it this way every year, and I'll just do it all. And we forget about the training part. Several of the chapters here, you all have shown how you're using those committees and how strong they are in bringing a new member in, training a new member, and getting them to feel comfortable so they can move up into more leadership roles. And it obviously works in both the chapters that have been featured here tonight. Anyone else like to add to what we're talking about? We've had some great points made. It's a very quiet group tonight. We can go back to the PowerPoint. There's a couple more points on that, and then we'll get to our conclusion. It's about 7:18, so we have a little bit more time left. But if somebody thinks of a question while we're finishing up the PowerPoint. And this PowerPoint's available because it'll be in the it'll be on the Zoom recording as well. Again, we've talked about it. It's a big belief I have that committees create leaders. Big or small, it doesn't matter. Start creating committees for your chapter. You will find leaders by doing that. A person starts with a small project and builds the confidence to move on to the bigger one. And Tasha alluded to all of that. It's so very true. We'll go to the next slide. And I think Tasha will like my last quote. First, we'll talk about the chapters of 5 to 10 members. Remember, you can divide up the work. Each of you takes a piece of it. And as Tasha says, many hands make light work. And that concludes the PowerPoint, although we have a very nice picture of a committee. Our board, with last year's board, who were having some fun at one of our committee meetings. So get together, have fun, get your committees rolling. If you have any questions or you're struggling with something, hey, get a hold of one of us officers. Gordon's available too. He just had a conflicting meeting tonight. Talk to somebody that you think might be able to help, and we'll get you rolling down the right path. Anybody else have something to add? Well, I hope you found it beneficial. Yes, did I hear something? No, guess not. I hope you found the information tonight beneficial. And we're here for you. So if no one has any other points they want to talk about, questions or concern, we'll call it an evening.
Well, I did have
Jenny raised her hand.
Oh,
Or
there's
she's thumbs
Jenny.
up.
Yep, thumbs up. Oh, she's saying thumbs up. Thank you, Jenny. I hope you got something out of it as well. We are working on membership a lot this year, so go out and invite all your friends to come to your meetings and to all the fun things, and then we'll get them on all these committees, and they'll be so excited that we won't be able to keep Ambucks. It'll be pressure cooking out and just exploding everywhere. So, anyway, thank you all for your attendance and have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
And
You're
don't forget
welcome.
about the next chat,
Oh, yes, it's December
9th.
9th.
And
We
we
have-
have a
Go
guest
ahead.
speaker.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Mary Kay Hood is going to be speaking. When she was 27 years old, she was in a car accident that left her paralyzed. She took that opportunity as a moment to say, I'm going to focus on what I can do. And she became a huge volunteer. She's very decorated, has received numerous awards and accommodations. She's a profound public speaker. And she's also founded Kids Food Basket, and they give a couple million meals annually to children in need. So she's amazing, and we're very excited that she's agreed to do the next chapter chat. So I encourage you to join us.
Would you say her name again?
Yeah, her name is Mary Kay Hood. So HOOD.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we'll see you all maybe in passing. You never know where we're going to show
let
up.
me
Yes,
jump in
Jack?
just for a second on that
Okay.
chapter, Chad. She's written a book about her life story, and I have it, and I'm sure if you're interested in that story after hearing her talk in December, it's quite a read. And her life didn't start out the way in a disabled fashion. She was a fun-loving, kind of wild woman to begin with, and then something happened that changed all of that. And what's happened subsequent to that is her life story, because she had to find a mission to fulfill her life. But a lot of it's about her husband also, Jeff. And he's an amazing person. So while she may be doing, I don't know if he'll be on the call or not, but he's a very special person too, because he's had to assume a lot of responsibility for taking care of her. And it allows her to do her thing. So hopefully that's included in the conversation. If not, be sure to have him participate if possible. And I'll just leave it at that as a teaser.
A cliffhanger by Judd. I
We've
love
gotten
it.
to know them quite well.
Oh, that's fabulous. Wonderful. Thank you for adding that. Anybody else have anything for the good of the meeting? Again, thank you all, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.